Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you have a lovely weekend. It's good to be back. Obviously, I did a live stream on Friday, so obviously, we're back here today. So we're going to be dissecting obviously the first press conference from our new owner, Kevin Nagle. I mean, if we weren't excited before, which we all were, if we weren't excited before, I think things have just got even a little more exciting after hearing what he had to say today. Obviously, we'll go through it. Obviously, there's a lot to get through as well. So, obviously, I'll do my best to keep it, entertaining, good for you watching, and we'll go through it step by step. And like I say, as always, I love hearing what you've got to say. What did you make of today's press conference as well? It'll be lovely to hear from you in the chat as always. Let's go through the comments first before we go any further. Oris is in, big up to you. Make sure to smash the likes and subscribe to our new super Kevin Nagle. I mean, thank you again. Always here, Oris, from me. Always here. I really do. You know how much I appreciate what you do for me. So, big up to yourself, mate. Big up. Super Kevin Nagle indeed. George is in, big up, right up, we're okay. Up the town near once by Miami. Promotion season incoming. Yeah, I mean, let's see, but things are looking very, very bright for us in the future. Aiden is in. Hello there, mate. Hope you're okay. That press conference brought me excited about the future. Yeah, absolutely, mate. It was a real, from the very first moment to the end, you just couldn't, you were just gripped to it, absolutely gripped to what he had to say. So, absolutely agree. Obviously we are going to get into it. Obviously, like I say, you've echoed what I feel, really. Obviously, an incredible listen it was, wasn't it? Really impressive. I think, Nagle has really understood the area, the club, and the people of this area too. Obviously, throughout this press conference, there was a lot of humility, humour, and I really can't wait to see what the future holds. Really, we all can't wait to see what happens, but we certainly feel so excited and feel like this is the start of something really, really special. You only have to look at his journey of where he's actually come from and where he's been as well. He can really relate to us in this town, and what we stand for, our values, because he's had to work so hard for his success. From very humble beginnings, and he's been one that's always given back to the community, and he'll continue that with us. Like I say, we'll touch on his background a bit later on, but he came from a very, very difficult background. Obviously, growing up, starting. He mentioned in the interview how he started working very young, and whatever he earns went to help his mum, obviously put food on the table, it's an incredible journey that he's been on. I'm really looking forward to obviously hearing more about him and his journey as well, obviously. What a guy though, what a guy. Obviously, we're going to get into the quotes and obviously what he said as well, and we're going to react to those. Obviously, there's a lot. I've got a lot of notes tonight, guys, so please stick with me. Obviously, it's always good to keep, but there was a lot said in the press conference, so we will go through. We're not going to go through all of it, but we're going to go through quite a bit of it. So. It's impossible to go through all of it, but we'll get through as much as we can. That's good. Evening to Terrier Darts. Good evening to you. Hope you're doing well, mate. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the press conference. As everybody, like I say, as we go along, there's a new documentary. I knew there is. Yeah, there is. We'll touch upon that as well at the end. But yeah, very, 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 very impressive first episode, and I can't wait for the second episode now. But wow, yeah, it was a brilliant watch. And I think that really helped us get to know, obviously, a bit more about Kevin as well, obviously, through this kind of documentary that's been posted, and obviously wonder when the next episode will be posted. But yeah, it gives us a chance to get to know him a bit more, and also it gives us an insight into how he actually went about, obviously, buying the football club and how it happened and things like that. So yeah, really, really enjoyed that, definitely. Big up to Ollie, big up, mate. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate you coming in. But yeah, we're going to get into the press conference now, as that is what we're here for. So yeah, obviously Kevin did start by obviously preparing a few notes, obviously, kind of remarks that he wanted to make. So obviously, first of all, he did say, obviously, it is my great honour and privilege to be here with you today. Over the last few months with this process, I've done my best to become a student of Huddersfield, from the town to the traditions and to the people. And I found very early that it was impossible to separate the town and the club. I thought that was a lovely way to start this press conference. I think that it really does show that he's really done the research, obviously, and he's made a massive effort to obviously get to know the town, and obviously, yeah, I just thought that set the tone, really, really nice. And the fact that he has an understanding of the connection that we have, obviously, he's already noticed that it's impossible to separate the town and the club, and I think that's really, really kind of interesting. He all went on to say, obviously, normally when presented with a new business opportunity, I take my time and complete all the necessary due diligence. I can't speak to that. Due diligence I can, but there are times when an opportunity is such a no-brainer, you have to just jump at it, and that's what I found here at Huddersfield Town. So obviously, he's so sincere and humble about it all as well, isn't he? And obviously, he knew that he couldn't, this opportunity timed so nicely for him and for us, because the fact that we've been able to get somebody in that, okay, we're still getting to know him, we still don't know how things will look, but the way he's speaking, like I said, the way he's interacting with fans on social media, everything about him is just so positive, isn't it? But it just brings a smile to you. Honestly, it just brings us a big smile to your face, what he's been like. But yeah, obviously, go on to say, obviously, he bought his first football team over 10 years ago, and immediately fell in love from the play on the pitch to the supporters in the stadium. He kind of said there's no community like the football community, and he can tell you there's no matching for the love and passion of English football, of the English football community. Obviously, he says the more I learned about the community here and its people, the more I found common similarities with my home in Sacramento. Many would say we were not destined destination communities. We were outshined by the press to our neighbours in the west and the south, but what neighbours can't match is the love and the sheer pride that we have for the place we call home. I think again, it's us in Sacramento. Like I say, I understand what I say, but like I say, I've done my research on Sacramento and everything, and the journey they've been on as well is very much similar, and the way they're always overlooked, over there as well, and it's there's so many similarities between the two clubs, and that's what I like as well. And I think that he kind of said that we don't like to be like anyone else. We are comfortable in our own skin. I think that's important as well, because I feel like he wants to be. He accepts that he can't be. We can't be a club that spends crazy. We have to do things in a sensible way, and the fact that we have to, kind of
we have to be our own. We have to be our we don't need to be like anybody else anyway. We are comfortable with where we are at, who we are. And I think that was really nice to hear him say that. He goes on to say there's a saying we use: if you know, meaning you have to see it to live it, to believe it. I'm here for the long haul, which again is commitment to the club. That was really, really lovely to hear it, and just actually hear him say that. And he says, I'm not making just an investment in this club, but in this community. I have come to believe in so much. Over the coming weeks and months, I'm sure you'll learn a lot of things about me, and I look forward to learning even more about you. So again, it's that connection that we're having since the very first moment. He's wanted to come on board and join together with the fans and really listen to the fans, really take on what they've got to say. And ultimately, he wants to be like one of us. He's a fan as well. And, I think the fact that he's committed, this is he wants to commit himself for the long haul. And I love that. I love when I hear that somebody says that, because it shows that the security is there for the long haul as well. And yeah, again, community. He understands the ethos of this football club. The community is, a big part of the football club. The biggest part of the football club, the community. The community work. What we stand for as a community. So again, it's that understanding, isn't it, of the club, which is just so lovely. And yeah, the fact that he wants to keep learning more about us, keep communicating with us. Obviously, he's aware that obviously we're still learning about him, and he obviously wants us to know a bit more about him as well, and we will do over the next coming months, weeks. So again, he's saying all the right things, and he's coming across in such a positive manner. He goes on to say, obviously, about one thing I already know: these supporters deserve a club that they can be proud of. I'm not the one to overpromise, but I can tell you that I'll do everything we can to put our best foot forward in a team that you can be proud of. Again, it's so refreshing to hear these words. Honestly, it's so powerful. He understands. Again, it's the understanding he has. He understands that this football club means everything to us. He wants to make a team. He wants to have a club that we can all be proud of, which again is just brilliant to hear. He doesn't want to overpromise, but he wants to kind of say that, look, he promises, and he will always say that he'll do everything he will do everything to really push success on the field and off it as well, and in the community, doing the great community things. But yeah, that's all we ever want to see. Is we want to have a team we can be proud of, and I think that's what every football club wants. And again, it just feels surreal, all this that's happened. Really, honestly, it's incredible, isn't it? But then also he kind of says, obviously, there will be peaks, and I'm sure there will certainly be valleys. So he's not naive enough to think this isn't, he already knows what football is, obviously, with his own club in Sacramento first initially. He knows how football works. He knows it's not, there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. And he also said there'll also be disagreements as well. But again, he reiterates, he gives his word that every decision and my team makes will be in the best interests of the club and the supporters. That again, it's just, I just feel speechless reading, obviously listening to him, and then reading the quotes back now as I'm speaking. He knows that this team, he wants the fact that he has the best interest of this football club. That's the most important thing, and you've seen it in the football world now, it's very hard to come by when you get an owner that can, you know, kind of. There's a lot of what I'm trying to say is a lot of owners that don't put the club at first, and they don't have the best interest for that club that they're owning. You know, and Kevin, amongst all the bad owners that are out there, and I'm probably sounding negative, but there's a lot of owners that go into a football club. There's many examples where they just want to make. Obviously, Kevin wants to make money, but he wants to also invest, and he wants to create something special here. Some owners are just happy to coast through and just pocket money and not have a connection with the fans, not communicate with the fans in any shape at all, in any way, any way possible. So yeah, it's lovely to hear that he's got the best. We already knew this. We already knew he had the best interests of the club at heart as well, and the supporters. Yeah, he said the supporters as well. So again, bring us into the equation. Making us feel like we're listened to, making us feel like we're valued. That's, for me as a fan, that is just fantastic to hear and see that he's always using the same. Obviously supporters the club. You know what I mean? It's just fantastic. Aidan says everything what Kevin said, all positive lines, and it does make it a season to look forward to. He's the right man to take us forward. But I liked what he said. The fun is just the beginning. Yeah. I agree with you, mate. Honestly, it's just so positive. He's honest. You can tell he's genuine. You can tell there's no. It's all sincere, isn't it? It's all coming from and everything he says. Even though we don't know much even though we don't know him fully yet, or we still get to learn more about him. I feel like, that we can believe what he's saying. You know what I mean? So it's honestly incredible. Obviously, he did speak highly of Dean Hoyle. Obviously thanking Dean. Obviously, he said over the last few months, I've seen so much of what he's done for the community. Always placing the club above himself. You even say this transaction we are talking about today was one of the final strokes of generosity and his love for everyone. I know how much all this meant to him, and I take the baton he handed to me very seriously. We will not let you down. So, again, brilliant to hear that. Obviously, nice words for Dean. Obviously, again, he's done his research. He's looked into what Dean's done, and obviously getting to know the history of the club. And yeah, it's nice for him to say those things about Dean. And yeah, again, he reiterates he doesn't plan or want to let anybody down. He makes a promise that he will not let us down. It's just brilliant. I also mentioned Dave Bolden. Obviously, Dave Bolden was absolutely instrumental in bringing us to my desk and helping us get to the finish line. His knowledge and counsel are invaluable, and I can't thank him enough. And then also he said thank you to the EFL and the Financial Conduct Authority. He said, I know you had a job to do, and although the wait was excruciating because I couldn't wait to get started myself, I appreciate how thorough and fair they were. It makes me feel much more at ease doing business in the UK. So again, he's saying all the right things and being very professional with what he has to say. Obviously, Neil Warnock, he did say things about Neil Warnock as well. Obviously, he said, I cannot overstate how much I look forward to watching him work this season. Yeah, again, I think we all feel like that, and obviously Kevin's no different. I said before that Dean Hall loves this club and puts the club first, and I feel the same thing about Neil. Obviously, he thanked him for being. Thank you. He obviously thanked him for giving us one more year. Obviously, he said, I'm sure everyone will execute their best to make it memorable. And obviously, he thanked the staff as well, obviously, at Town, obviously. appreciating and thanking their help for for what they've helped him with or during the process. And then he said, yeah, so gear up because the fun is just beginning now. Again, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. The fun is just beginning, and he's making us all very, very excited, really, for what's to come. But again, I think he's thanking everybody. He's very he appreciates everybody that comes across him. That he's mentioned the staff. He's mentioned Dean Hall, our old owner. He's mentioned the fact that Neil. He's mentioning everybody and appreciating what everybody does. He knows it's a team effort. He also says, finally, I would like to take a moment to recognise and thank our brilliant supporters. He says, I have so much fun and unlimited interaction on social media, and I might be most excited to the interact. Yeah, so he's really excited, obviously, to interact in person as well. He's very excited about that. You can feel the passion and desire, the way we have, what we have here. Obviously, the passion and desire across the pond. He said, I sincerely appreciate your suggestions as well. We will always do our best to not just listen, but to hear you as well, and try to make everything not just the play on the pitch, but from the grounds, the food and beverage, and everything in between, something you will always be proud of. Again, I just can't, like I say, it just feels pretty surreal what is happening at the moment. I think, again, you recognise the passion and desire we have, obviously, but he's also reiterating the same message, obviously, about doing his best. He wants to listen. And he also touched on the fact that he doesn't want to just, obviously, on the pitch is very important, but he wants to focus on everything as well. Like he said, from the grounds, the food and beverage. Obviously, we know there needs to be a complete change in everything that's offered at the club, really, in terms of food and beverage and things. The facilities have to improve at the stadium ultimately. I think that he recognises that. And everything in between, he said, and he wants us to be proud of it. So it's brilliant, and he also kind of brought clarity to what he and his team plans to do immediately and over the coming months. Obviously he's going to get to work immediately, but obviously the work will start, obviously over the next few months. So again, the plan. There's an ambition, there's a direction. It's all the foundations of how a football club, in my eyes and many other town fans' eyes, should be run, are starting to take effect here. And we're not used to, honestly, we're not used to all this at all. And, what we've had to cut, what we've been through these past 12 to 18 months, it's been difficult, hasn't it, obviously. From that playoff heartbreak to last season, you could say the last few months was fantastic and it was incredible what Neil Warnock did. But on the whole, last season it was so difficult to witness what was happening on the field, really, and off it as well, with the decisions that were being made. So we've had a tough 18 months, really, haven't we? So to have this come along now and this real excitement moving forward and looking forward, it's really refreshing. So number one, he says he wants to stabilise the performance on the field. That's number one. He said that we've left this to the best. Neil, Ronnie, Jepson and the team, we believe, will have the firepower to finish us up in the table in the 23-24 season. So again, he allows the managers to do their job. He doesn't interfere, which is what you see a lot of in football. I'm not making jibes at any football club, really, but you see a lot of interference now. But Kevin's not like that. He allows, he employs people in different roles. He trusts them people, and he allows them to get on with the role. but also making sure he's communicating effectively with them as well about everything. So, you know, it's brilliant that he's allowing, and the belief that he has as well in the team that he's got around him as well, which is crucial, of course. Number two, he said about stabilising the financial performance of the club. He confirmed to us that the club has no debt, which is really obviously, yeah, it's good to hear, of course. But he also recognised the budget, the budgetary expenses are far greater than the revenue side. That's, he's already acknowledged that and recognised that. He said that we'll be subsidising this until we eventually balance the budget. And as you read, we are bound by requirements, obviously FFP, set for the AFL, not to exceed our approved budget. So, again, some more clarity. The finances of the club. There's no debt. Fantastic. Brilliant stuff. But he also is very clear on what he's wanting to say. He's honest. He's honest. That's the reality. He realises that the budget that we are on is not, it's far greater than the revenue. And that is where we're at. That's what's happening. But there's a plan in place in the future where obviously, they'll be subsiding this now, and then they'll balance the budget. And then that'll really get moving with that side of things. But yeah, also while sticking with FFP is, but like I said, we can't. I don't want to get big about this, but people know my views on Manchester City and many other clubs really. We can't do what we want because we haven't, unlike some clubs do, and get away with it. We have to follow protocol like every club should. But of course. Some clubs get away with it, but yeah, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, I'm just jiving at Man City. I really don't like Man City, but yeah, he's just so honest. I watched him with a smile on my face. It really does look like an exciting future with Kevin. Yeah, I did as well. I mean, how can you not smile whilst listening to him? He's saying so many amazing things that us supporters want. He's saying the things that us supporters want to hear in a way, but more than that, he's giving us more. So yeah, I completely agree with you, and yeah, absolutely exciting future ahead for us. The future really does look bright, doesn't it? But yeah, so that's number two. Number three, he wants to grow the revenues. He said that through a combination of programs in the early stage of development, through improved customer care programs such as streamline the delivery of spirits before and at half time, broader access to food and merchandise, we believe we would be one of the first orders of duty. We would be one of the first orders. Yeah, it is clear that there's an opportunity for our fans to see positive change in this area. I mean, look, he's wanting to improve the overall fan experience as well as, obviously, with this, obviously providing the resources for, obviously providing the investment on the pitch as well, with what we can spend and what we've got available to us. But yeah, again, he wants us fans again to see that positive change in the area, and he wants. I'm trying to word this very well. He just wants us to feel really great, really grateful and positive about things that are actually happening, things are improving, and he wants us to recognise that things will improve as well. So I'm probably waffling at this point, but I am trying to explain myself. But yeah, that's again. So all these steps that are going to be happening over the next few months, weeks. This is new to us, all this, because we now know what they are working on. Because he has communicated what's happening behind the scenes, and he's made it clear about his plans. We haven't had that for a long time. Let's be real. We've had no idea what's been happening at the football club behind the scenes ever. We've had no communication, no clarity, and nothing like this. So the fact that there's a real plan, a real thorough plan, not just one or two plans, like I said, this he mentioned 6 or 7 kind of courses of action that he's going to be putting in place. So it's just nice to know what's happening, behind the scene, and what they're looking to work on, and what they're going to be doing. Obviously, you'll know that we'll recognise changes that are being made in the next few months as well. But he wants us to know about them first, which again, communication, it's vital for me. I just love communication between the club and us, because now, number 4, which I thought was, again, another fantastic step forward, another big thing, is rebuild the academy. Now, he says to develop a long-term sustainable football infrastructure, investments must be made in this area. This is one of the, obviously he said this is obviously a real high importance of the football future. He said young player development, selling player opportunities, and local player involvement is essential. So again, there's going to be a complete, however that looks, there's going to be obviously a completely different infrastructure of the academy. And we, like I say, we know how important our academy is to us. Not just to us, but any football academy is vital to clubs, isn't it? So the fact that he's looking to change it and improve it is really promising. Like I said, we know we've got a lot of brilliant youngsters on the books at the moment, and these youngsters will continue to develop this this new season as well. And but again, he wants to maximise the potential of the academy and completely revamp and change the infrastructure of the academy, and rebuild it because maybe that's what it does need to flourish even more so. And yeah, it's really, really promising, isn't it, to hear that. Blue Terrier says, feels good knowing we have people at the top that know what they're doing. Absolutely spot on there, honestly. I completely agree, because we've said it time and time again, haven't we? The fact is that people have been employed in roles in the past that have no idea what they're doing, and then that is obviously impacted us on the pitch as well, and how well we've been run. It's been so badly run. You need to fundamentally at the top is really important. We know this. We have to have the people at the top that know what they're doing and have experience, and the people that he's bringing in, that he's brought in, that he'll continue to bring in. We know that they know what they're doing. So it gives you confidence, or it will start to give us more confidence in the board as we go along, and the trust that we have with the board as well, which obviously they will have to earn, but things look very, very promising for sure. He also says about expansion of areas of the club will be vital, while we will review downsizing in all areas. We don't have specific to present as those reviews are in progress. Obviously, he also said about longer term opportunities that exist are being investigated. So they include, but are not limited to, potential control of the stadium. Again, so programming can be streamlined as well as land development around the stadium. Again, it's something that's been rumbling on for quite a while, isn't it? The control of the stadium, how it's not ours. It's owned by the council predominantly, and he's emphasised he wants to take control of that. He wants full control, and obviously that will just make things so much easier as well, because when you've got a few parties involved, it's just a complete nightmare, because you have to go to them for discussions about everything that you want to do, and it's just not how we need to be running going forward. So the fact that he's provided that clarity again, that he does want to make change, he does obviously want to control the stadium, but also, not only that, he wants to develop. He wants to obviously develop around the stadium as well. Obviously, the land development and improve around the stadium. Obviously, again, fantastic to hear, because I think I speak for everybody that we just want. I think we all want to have control of the stadium. I think that's really important to us. And I think that obviously the fact that he's looking to develop, make changes and developments around the stadium as well. It's really, really, really encouraging as well. And lastly, he wants to obviously continue that support of charity activities. He also emphasised that these are close to his heart. He recognised that obviously the club would become incomplete without embracing more charities. The club has supported some wonderful ones, but I may have some of my own personally. I have a passion for education and a broad number of healthcare issues I spent my career in, and I'm sure there are other vital needs the Huddersfield community may benefit as well. So the fact is still wanting, we're going to continue the community stuff, which is what we are all about, aren't we, as a club, and also obviously introduce some new ones that we haven't heard of maybe, and obviously the fact that he's also acknowledged that there will be some in our local area as well that will benefit as well from this as well. So again, nobody's being left out, and it's good to see that the charity work will continue, because our values and ethos will never change. Well, they'll always be, the community will always be at the heart of what the club does, and Kevin, as he is, obviously his community means a lot to him, and we can see that and sense that. So he fits in perfectly around here. Honestly, he does. As we know, obviously he does own a stake in second tier side Sacramento Republic. So he was kind of asked what attracts him to come and take over at an English club as well. He replied, I've got some graphics now which I'll bring up on screen. I just want to get the right one up first. I think this is the right. Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. I'd always in the back of my head thought what a wonderful thing it would be to own one. So he kind of said that. He also went on to say about, over the years I've looked at Premier League equities or owning some equity position in one club. I looked at Aston Villa at one time. I looked at a lot of Championship teams. I looked at League One teams. I was even in a discussion with a broker about a team. So, like I say, obviously he was in discussions, but then obviously this opportunity with us was the perfect fit for him. And then obviously he says, then all of a sudden this opportunity came along. And what happened is I divested my position with the Sacramento Kings, and so I freed up liquidity. Oh gosh, that's the hard word to say. And my CFO said, you need to spend every dollar you get freed up, Kevin. And I said I wanted to think about maybe going to buy an English team. So yeah, obviously the fact that he obviously was his position with Sacramento Kings obviously ended. He had that space to be able to take on something new as well. So that's kind of obviously how it came about. And he then goes and said, then ironically, the opportunity availed itself while we were not aggressively looking, but just looking for the right opportunity. And what happened with this opportunity is it was a relatively short period of time. I mean, yeah, he mentioned obviously 10 days to buy a football club. I mean, he spoke about it in the documentary that we saw today, the first episode, and he touched upon it in the press conference about how quickly things happened for him. And he'd gone from not knowing who Huddersfield were or what or who they were or anything about them, to owning the club 10 days later. It's just incredible, isn't it? He then went on to say, I'll tell you this much, I didn't realise that in 10 days' time I'd go from maybe not knowing really that Huddersfield even existed, and I don't mean that pejoratively or negatively, to 10 days later I was buying it. I've just kind of touched upon that, but yeah, exactly, he's honest though. I like his honesty. Obviously he know anything about us, and obviously, that's fair enough. But also, he didn't want. Obviously, then he made sure he wasn't coming across negative, which again, he doesn't want to come across negative. He wants to He wants to come across as positive as he can. And for me, I've seen everything he said, and everything I've seen is 1,000% positive. Absolutely, is positive for me. And then he said, but it became easier, as I explained with my words that I opened up this press conference with, that once I got to know a lot about Huddersfield, what it stood for and its legacy, not just the football club itself, but the community at large, that's where I really sort of related to it right away. That's the reason. We're ready to go after Leeds. Obviously, Leeds is spelled wrong there, but Leeds, yeah. I love that jibe at Leeds at the end. But yeah, but the fact is that he can relate to us. I think that's a massive thing for us, isn't it? Really, he can relate to us. Without from our values and ethos, and that's for me, that's quite important, because I think it's really obviously nice to have that connection with the owner. Obviously, he can relate to us and we can relate to him. So it's that special connection. But yeah, let's have a look at Aidan's comment. Yes, he's looking at the future, but really he's not looking at the Premier League and he's not looking at League One. He's just ready for a fight. And for owners to be calm about the future tells you a lot. I mean, it does. You're spot on, absolutely, mate. I mean, he's looking at things very, very professionally, isn't he? I think, and he knows that we know where we're at. We know that, but the fact that he's up for the fight as well, and we certainly are up for the fight as well as fans. We will do our bit, and we're up for the fight and helping the team on the pitch and doing our bit, to help, and because we're all in this together. That's it really. We're all in this together. And yeah, he's very calm, composed. It does tell you a lot about him really. But yeah, we're gonna keep going with the, obviously, like I say, I don't want to cover, like I say, I want to cover quite a bit. So like I said, the ambitions for the club, obviously, did say we have to stabilise the performance. It's the one thing getting in the Premier League, and another to stay there. And you need some infrastructure. We're looking at that now, and how we can build it to have a sustained, viable programme. I mean, again, he's not naive enough to think that, obviously the big dream is to get back to the Premier League, isn't it? Right? We know that. But he's not naive. He's a business expert for me. He knows that there needs to be infrastructure. Mind you, you don't need to be an expert to know that. We know that a business needs infrastructure to succeed and to be successful and to thrive. So yeah, obviously that's something that's really nice here. And obviously, he wants to have a sustained, viable program, and that's what you need, of course. So that's what he kind of touched on. Obviously, the financial, he was asked about the financial ethos as well, and obviously, he says when people ask, it's always how much money will be invested, which is a natural question. But in the business world, we tend to do assessments. We've assessed performance in the tail versus investment in players, and those who have the large investments end up in the Premier League. But then if you have 24 teams and break it into thirds, there's no more logic or correlation beyond that. What I've determined is those teams with strong infrastructures perform better overall. So, it's, like I say, he's spot on, isn't he? He's absolutely spot on with this. We have to do things in the right way. And I said that, didn't I? To perform better overall, to succeed, how you want to put it, to be successful, to thrive, you have to have that infrastructure to perform better. and you know, and that's really what you kind of said about that. Kind of went on a bit more about Warnock as well. Obviously, he said he was fantastic. Obviously, he's the zenith of managing football, he said. A little side story. In the States, we have Sacramento Republic in the second tier, and our manager there, who's British, had read Neil's book and asked if he could come over to learn from Neil. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, he says, obviously, we all know how much Neil Warnock's a legend. We know that we love him, and you know, the fact he's a bit like Neil, obviously saying a story as well to stuff. But yeah, I don't think many people can match Neil Warnock. He said, "You've got a brilliant football mind and someone who can charismatically bring everyone together." Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, nobody. Well, for me, he says I don't think many people, but I don't think anybody matches what Neil Warnock does, neither, and has. You know, and we saw that, didn't we? You know, when he came in, he brought everybody together on side, which obviously Kevin saw, didn't he? Obviously, and you know, you could really see that and he was impressed by it. He was also asked about kind of what's attractive about the English game to American owners. Obviously, he said it's the gold standard of football in the world, whether it's coaching, managing, player side, the best is here. In the US and around the world, it's pretty well known that this is where the best is, and that's what drew me, he said. So, yeah, obviously, that's kind of what interested him coming here to England to take a club like us, and yeah, which is always nice to hear what attracted him to the club, you know, to England, and obviously things like that. All the press conference to me sounds like he wants to get obviously to the Premier League because he kept mentioning the Premier League. I mean, he did. He mentioned it a lot of the time, quite a lot, didn't he? But that's the big dream, of course, and you know, that's he wants to help us get there. Of course, he does, and he wants to provide that infrastructure that will really help us. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I think I kind of said earlier though. I think that's a dream for us all, isn't it, to get back there? And obviously, I feel like I've said this many times. I feel like we've got unfinished business in there as well. With how it ended there, as we know, it wasn't very nice. But I think that we just, well, maybe I'm being biased, but I feel like we deserve another chance in the Premier League, or whenever that may be. But yeah, absolutely, you're spot on. And then he was kind of asked, what can we expect from him? What can we expect? You know, what can we expect to know from him? Obviously, he says, I'm very communicative. There we are on social media, and I'm looking at buying a home here shortly. I'm highly competitive, and anyone who's looked at my background will know I'm a competitor, usually seen as an underdog. Usually seen as somebody who won't give up. Someone asked what qualified me as an owner, not just financially, and I would say I've had the club for the past 10 years, and we've had a lot of success. I'm never willing to quit. I mean, how amazing is this to hear this? Really, you know, honestly, it's fantastic because he's a winner. He wants to win. You know, like I say, he's a competitor. You know, he's always been, obviously, at Sacramento, he's always been, obviously, the club, he's always been seen as an underdog, which, again, similarities to what we've had to what we've kind of done over the years and what we've kind of been labelled as an underdog in years gone by. There's so many similarities, isn't there, between the two clubs? Yeah, and again, he knows things won't be easy. But he's never willing to quit. And again, that's what we've built our success on, that terrier spirit, haven't we, over the years, and not quitting. You know, giving it our all. And I think there's so much that he, as a person, can relate to us in terms of the club. You know, how we operate, and how we. What we stand for and our values. So, yeah, it's
it just feels like this is a match made in heaven. I mean, obviously early days, but it does. It really does. But yeah, it's so nice and refreshing to hear that. I don't know about anybody else, but honestly, it is. It's nice to hear that. It was also asked about, obviously, does he need a return on investment that he puts into the club? Kind of, I loved his humour throughout this press conference as well. He did bring a lot of humour into it as well, made us laugh. He said, just behind you is my CFO, and you can probably ask him. And he started laughing at that point. But then obviously he said, we'll do it for the love of the profession first. There's going to be an investment long term here, just as there has been in Sacramento. But whether it's winning championships or making sure the team is well stocked with a strong infrastructure, we need to make sure we're competitive. Again, you know, he's clarified that there will be an investment long term, which is fantastic to hear, obviously, which is what is needed as well. And again, he mentioned infrastructure, a strong infrastructure, or the word infrastructure a lot, didn't he, in his press. And, you know, he's absolutely right, isn't he, what he said about, you know, the need for a strong infrastructure at a football club is paramount. And yeah, he then emphasised that we need to make sure we're competitive, however that means, whatever it takes to make us competitive. It feels like he's prepared to do it. He feels like he's prepared to do whatever it takes to make sure, come the start of the season, August the 5th, we'll be competitive from the very beginning. So that's, you know, again, that's all we expect, don't we? You know, to be competitive, give it a go, and you know, and have a team that we can be proud of, as well as, you know, feeling a connection with the club, and, you know, yeah, just feeling valued as people, really, as fans, you know. So yeah, Mark saying hello there, Mark. Hope you're well, mate. Met him in person last night. Such an interesting character, lovely bloke. I mean, yeah, he did have the. He's been meeting a lot of people these past few days. Obviously, he was at the Altogether Town meeting last night, I believe, wasn't he? Which obviously, yeah, he's a really interesting. I agree, he's a really interesting character, and yeah, obviously, I had the privilege of meeting him when he came, obviously, for the Reading game, and yeah, obviously, what struck me, even though it was only, well, it was quite brief. Yeah, it was quite brief. When I saw it, obviously, I stuck around while he was signing autograph. But from what he shook everybody's hand, obviously, made sure they asked their name, and obviously said nice to meet you and things and that. So from when I met him, I felt really positive, really is what I'm saying. So yeah, he came across very lovely to me as well. So yeah, spot on there, mate. But yeah, apparently it was a good evening last night, but obviously, yeah, obviously I wasn't there, but yeah, absolutely spot on with your comments there. You then go on to say about the investment. We're not Chelsea, but we want to compete year after year. We can compete a different way. We can compete a different way, and I'm not afraid of that. We've got Neil to sign up for another year, and that wasn't an easy thing. And I think that he knows there's a chance we could do something really special. So again, he's literally speaking facts. That's what he's doing. Everything he's saying, I just can't not agree. I probably repeat myself time about, you know, with all these quotes, but I can't disagree with what he's saying. I can't, because you can, you know, I just agree with everything. He acknowledges that, again, we aren't a team that can spend crazy like your biggest teams in England, like your Chelsea's, you know, Man United and things like that. He knows that, but he still wants to be competitive, and he still acknowledges that we have to be competitive in a different way to what other clubs
how other clubs are able to, kind of be successful. We can't do it ways that other clubs can. But again, then there's always a way to be competitive, isn't there? It doesn't matter what it's about everything being in place to we know this. I'm repeating what I'm saying earlier, but the infrastructure. Keep saying infrastructure. The strong infrastructure is needed. And yeah, like I say, we've got Neil Warnock. Like I say, for me, I'm not being biased, but he's the best championship manager going into this season. There's no one that's done what Neil Warnock's done in the championship. So as far as I'm concerned, we've got the best manager. And I think, Neil Warnock, he kind of said that he knows there's a chance we can do something really special. Again, saying that makes me feel a bit excited even more. But yeah, obviously, he acknowledges it wasn't easy to get him back as well, though. Marx has even decked us out in free Sacramento Republic merchandise bonus. Oh, nice one, nice. Honestly, yeah, he's a very generous. He comes again. He seems quite generous and humble and really lovely to. I suppose it's because of where he's come from, though, isn't it? From where he's had to. He hasn't been given it. Let me tell you, like we mentioned earlier, he's had to work hard for where he is now. He's had to really work hard. He's not inherited anything. He's had to start from the bottom effectively. So yeah, but yeah. Final thing on finance now. Then when he was asked about the financial about the investment, sorry. He said, "You can't be afraid of losing money. I know I'm American, but give me a bit of credit. We know what pluses and minuses are." Again, just adding a bit of humour in there, which is always quite good to do. Obviously, it's nice to have a bit of a laugh. He acknowledges we're going to lose money for a period of time, but we're not afraid of that. He said, "That's not the first of my concerns." But yeah, I mean, again, more honesty. Yeah, I mean, as a business, I suppose as a business person, you can't really be afraid of losing money, can you? I mean, he's right, really. Because with business comes a lot of you have to. I think there is a lot of risk, but there's a lot of reward if you can get it right. So, but then also you acknowledge that. He also said we are going to lose money for a period of time as well, and but he's not afraid of that. He's not afraid of any of that at all, and he's happy. He's fine with that. For the time being, whilst we balance the books of the budgets and things, and like I said, I'm not going to pretend to be a business expert, to be honest with you, but I do know bits about business, but I don't really know. Obviously, unless you're in that area, it's very hard to kind of know the ins and outs, isn't it, of business, but I suppose you have an overall picture of things. He was asked about thoughts, obviously, on the team recruitment as well in this. He began by saying, first of all, never underestimate the potential of what you can possibly be. That's why it was so important for me to bring Neil back. He's got something special most people don't. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You should never underestimate, again, saying it was really nice to hear out about, obviously, you can't underestimate that potential, can you, what you can possibly be. You've always got to achieve high. You've always got to dream big. You can't. The most successful business people are the ones that, are really, they really do dream big and really do risk things for that big reward at the end if you can get it right. But so yeah, it was always he emphasised again. It's so important to bring Neil back as well. That was why it was so important as well. And yeah, I said it earlier about that. There's no one that's got what Neil Warnock's got. He said he's got something special most people don't, and it's true. Neil Warnock's been there, seen it, done it. You know, we've got no better person than Neil going into this season, and with the people at the top as well, with Kevin and his team, you know, doing all the right things and communicating well with everybody, like I said earlier, and ensuring that everybody's happy along the way. And yeah, communication, don't overestimate. Communication is massive, isn't it? We know that. We don't, you know, if you're not communicating, you're just not able to you know, run a football club in the best way, because nobody knows what's going on. But yeah, secondly, he said you need to think that if there's a chance to win, for example, last year at Sacramento, we reached the playoffs and then just ran out of gas. I said, look, we've got a lot of solid athletes coming back, but we need to change a few things, and we did, and we're top of the table. But I believe we probably don't have enough firepower to win it all. So I went and said, we need to bring in another player. So this morning we're going to sign somebody and push it over the top. We've constrained by EFL requirements, and I think that's a good thing for the good of the game. Yeah. So again, he's kind of obviously sharing a bit about his journey with Sacramento, a few stories he's got. And yeah, he's very honest, isn't he? He's very honest. The fact that he said, yeah, we reached the playoffs, but we ran out of gas. But we ran out of gas. So what can we do about that? What we can do is we can get, you know, we can look at where we are. We can look that we've got, you know, solid athletes coming back, as he said, but also recognising we need to change a few things. And then he doesn't mess around, does he? He's very like, you know, he's very much on it. He's very much on it, isn't he? You know, and like I say, and then like I said, if we need a player, we'll have a look and we'll get a player in. And he's very efficient. Very efficient. That was the word I was looking for. In how he does things, from what I've seen, from what I've kind of heard and kind of seen. So it really is brilliant. And Mark says, as much as this is seen as a year of being stale, I don't believe for one moment Neil would come here without some genuine belief he could do something. I mean, Marcus, you're making some very valid points, and thank you for you know, for your continued engagement here. It's nice to get new people on as well, and obviously see new faces. So welcome to this community as well, by the way. But yeah, you're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. You know, Neil wouldn't, you know, he wouldn't come back here without some genuine belief he could do something. And for me, he does believe he believes he can do something special this year. And you know, as much as it is about stability, and you know, it's not seen as a year of I don't think, even though obviously new owner, obviously it does take kind of maybe 12 months to be stable fully, but that doesn't mean we can't do things on the pitch, you know. And obviously things have been happening each week, each month, every month to kind of, you know, get to that point where we are fully stable, you know, again, and you know, that's part of it. But that's kind of what I feel as well, absolutely, about that. But yeah, brilliant comment, absolutely spot on, mate. Mid-table this season, hopefully it's all about building year on year. I mean, obviously you're being more kind of reserved, Paul, and I respect that and I appreciate that. Of course I do. And you are seeing it in that kind of way, and that's absolutely fine, absolutely. But I think it's just about, yes, okay, we probably would. If you've, obviously, we know what town are like. We never do. If you look at what's happened in the past, obviously, we're either at the fighting for relegation or we're fighting at the top. So we never really have those mid-table finishes, but we could do this season. But
I don't know. Obviously, it is your opinion. But I know what you're saying about it is maybe it is just about building year on year. I understand what you're saying in that regard. But yeah, we're just going to have to see how things happen. But you just never know in football, do you? You never know. For me, I feel like we can really push at the top end this year. For me, I know obviously it may take a year or two to get to where we want to be, but I still feel like we're going to be pushing at the top. But I don't know. I don't really know what to think really at the moment. I'm more one of those persons where I kind of don't like to set too much expectation. I just like to see how the season goes, obviously, and just take it game by game. Obviously, just focus on what on winning football games, and then the rest will take care of itself. So, yeah, it's one of those really. Terry, that's like I said last stream, being stable and comfortable, in my opinion, is doing something. I mean, absolutely it is, absolutely, and I think that's something that's, first and foremost, being stable, like you say, and comfortable is absolutely doing something. I mean, it's progress. It's progress. We know that we are, as long as, for me, as long as we're competitive on the field, and I'm pretty certain we will be. I'm fine with what happens this coming season, really. As long as we're competitive and we have a great season, then. And what a great season looks like to me is probably maybe different to other people, but I just feel like a great season is actually being competitive and finishing as high as we can, really. But yeah, you're spot on. A lot of valid comments in the chat this evening for sure, so thank you for those. Again, he emphasised about the EFL, FFP things as well. But also he emphasised that's a good thing for the good of the game, which it is. Unless you're Man City and you do what you want, but there we are. But anyway, I'm going to stop chatting about this, and I'm just going to continue. Now is obviously I know this stream is running a bit over than what we usually do, but I appreciate everybody that's sticking with me. I do want to cover a few more. There's kind of a lot of points I still want to cover. So hopefully you will stick with me for the next 20, I'd probably say 20 minutes. But yeah, so he was asked about the relationship between town and obviously Sacramento Republic. Obviously he said that I think there's a tremendous opportunities to learn both ways. The technical aspects I alluded to earlier in the UK, we can migrate to the US. And I think we can also have players who can benefit from the training we have here at town. Acknowledge that the salary levels are different, so it's a challenge, but I think we can get the team playing in friendlies. And I think there's good synergy there. There's players on Twitter that have been mentioned, and one even came and asked if he was coming here. But I think he'd be homesick. So again, adding that humour to what he was saying, and obviously it would be interesting to see what how the relationship with the two clubs happen over the over the next 12 months maybe, but I'm sure something will be planned at some point, but I suppose we're just going to have to wait and see. Anything but a relegation, but yeah, it is, I agree. We just want a good season, don't we? We just want a season where we can be competitive and do our best. And obviously, he was also asked about the matchday experience between UK and US. He said that you can't take anything away from my club at home, but the passion here is phenomenal. It's funny, when I came to the Reading match, we were already safe from relegation, and we got here a couple of hours early, and there were hundreds of fans waiting to see me. I was really touched by that, and was trying to work out why. That was wonderful, and there were lots of children here who were well on their way to becoming town fans.
So yeah, I mean, I alluded to this in past streams into about this, how he was so surprised to see, and kind of see the, kind of the amount of people that was waiting to meet him when he arrived at John Smith's before the Reading game. And again, he's very humble because he was like, he was really touched, but he didn't know why. He couldn't work out why they was waiting to see him and why they wanted autographs and things like that. He was he was overwhelmed by it all, really, wasn't he? But yeah, that just shows how humble and things he is, really. Obviously, that's what I was talking about earlier when I said that I met Kevin. It was brilliant to meet him that first time. Yeah, it was. I think it was. You can tell as well that he's an owner that will make sure he gets a picture and signs every autograph. Takes a picture of everybody that asks him. He's not one to kind of bypass fans. He'll make time for everybody, won't he? So, but yeah, he very much. I think that's what the fact he was so overwhelmed and surprised by the reception he got. I think that's how he started to. I think that's where the love began. Well, I think the love began when he first started to get to know us. But you know what I mean. I think the love for the club kind of rise after that as well, because he was, he spoke about it as well, didn't he, about how much he enjoyed it as well, obviously the game as well, and the atmosphere as well that we created. So yeah, it was obviously good to kind of hear him say those things about that as well. Like I said, there is no debt at the club. Obviously, the only caveat he said was if we get to the Premier League, there's a payment, but we won't worry about that, he said. He said the EFL constraint is the FFP. I know there's some concerns about what happened with the previous ownership, but we're not going to have that problem. The first thing the EFL wants to know is my personal financial status. Then look at your moral character, and I've been fortunate to own other sports clubs in the US, and they also grew through enormous diligence. So yeah, again, just clarifying a few things there. And then he was asked about where will the investment go. First thing he said was he'll look at some things the fans need, which again, the necessity to really focus on what the fans need and what is really, really nice, isn't it? Really, as a fan, hearing that, that makes me, obviously, and many other Town fans, all Town fans, not many, all Town fans feel good about themselves, and then that that things will be put in place that we need. Obviously, he said we've looked at Twitter and what the primary challenges facing the supporters are. We only have a short period of time, so we're going to first focus on access to drinks and food and merchandise. So we'll focus on that, and then maybe some other things we do on the stadium. So again, just kind of introducing what his kind of plans are as well about that. His first ports of call with the obviously access to drinks and food and merchandise. So that's the first focus, and he also obviously mentioned about things we do on the stadium as well. I think he mentioned in the press conference about obviously the speakers. Obviously the speakers in the stadium obviously quite not very good at the really. So obviously he was looking to kind of improve those, and obviously many other things obviously in the stadium. I think the stadium for me, at least, I think we know that the stadium does need a bit of a. It just needs a bit of a, especially in the concourse area. I think it just needs a proper revamp, really, doesn't it? I think just to make it a lot nicer, in the concourse area too, because obviously the toilets will be a massive issue as well. Obviously, to be honest, it's quite disgusting in the toilets at times. But so all the facilities, they need to be improved. And obviously we'll be looking to do that in the future, I'm sure. I think obviously he said about, I can't remember what he was asked now, but he said that's complex situation, as you know, but we've retained Dave on, and his main focus will be on the stadium and where we take it. It should be the home of the club, and it's also a community asset. The community should be able to enjoy it and appreciate it. We have concerts, but we should have more of that. We could do another 30, 40 a year without affecting the pitch too much. So, I mean, like I say, obviously, yeah, he say again, I love hearing what he said about that, obviously about the community stuff as well. Acknowledges that he wants everyone to have that perfect match day experience, doesn't he? I think that's what he wants ultimately. Which, yeah, it's obviously nice. Obviously, we know that we could do with a kind of a better fan zone for me in the future. Obviously, there's lots to do, but obviously, if the fan zone could be kind of happen, obviously, before the games, that would be good to kind of get something more better in place, maybe. But there's always scope for improvements, isn't there? So, yeah. And obviously, you mentioned about the concerts thing. I mean, I understand it is a potential. Obviously, I know Muse were performing at the John Smiths the other night, other week, whatever you want to say. But I mean, obviously, I know it's probably a revenue kind of outlet that we could probably look into, but yeah, maybe that is scope for something to happen maybe in the future, but I'm not sure if concerts should be at the forefront of our mind, really, if I'm honest. He was also asked about the dependence on player sales and if would obviously kind of would sales have to happen for recruitment maybe, but this is where he said, I think you let the coaches coach, the managers manage, and the sporting director take care of that side. I mean, again, he's allowing people to do the roles. I've always said in football, yeah, that football should be left to the individual roles. So, like he said, you let the coaches coach, you let the managers manage, and the sporting director take care of that side as well, because he knows what he's doing, or usually does. If you can call it right, but obviously we know with Kevin and his team, they do know what they're doing. So it's about leaving each other to their own roles and letting them get on with it, and obviously, and allowing them to do the job that they're employed to, not interfering. You see a lot of interference at football clubs sometimes, and it's like, really, I never believed in that kind of way of going about a football team. Really, you don't need to interfere. What I mean is like the owners of some clubs, and I'm probably talking about clubs that are higher up than us, but clubs that the owner dictates everything. I'm sorry, but I just don't like that at all. It's just not the way things should be run. So I'm glad that we obviously aren't like that. But he also said we need to hire a new sporting director. And then he said, I'll let Jake talk to you more about that. So I think the fact that we know now that we need there will be a new sporting director. But again, we've got the full confidence of Kevin to find that guy. He'll already have the person that he's bringing in. Obviously, we don't know him yet, but he will have that person ready to come in, just to be announced. But we know, from what we've seen, from what we've heard from the people, obviously Jake, and the people that he's bringing in, we know that the decision will be the correct one, sure. Hi Ryan, sorry for the late comment as I just came back from work. Hope the stream's going up. Oris, hello, good evening to you. You don't need to say sorry, honestly, it's fine. I know people have got lives to live and things to do. Like I say, I know you've been at work, so it's absolutely fine. So, yeah, but like I say, I appreciate the earlier comment. Obviously, you were in early commenting, obviously. Yeah, and the stream's going well, thank you. Obviously, it's been a bit of a longer stream tonight, but I did want to kind of touch on quite a bit because there's been quite a lot to talk about. I'm sure you'll revisit what I've said, but yeah, big up to you, mate. Big up, bro. Super Kevin Nagle, indeed. And time and patience is needed, Ori says under him. Those talents that want him to splash the caps out already is a joke. He needs time to do so. I mean, yeah, Ori, you're absolutely spot on, bro. I think the fact is, the problem with football, I'm not saying it's a problem, but the thing is with football fans, is all that people talk about now is money, money, money. Now, no, football has become, well, there's too much money in football, especially at the top end anyway. It's far too much football, it's far too much money at the top of the game now. We know this. We're not naive enough to think that. There is so much money at the top level, top tiers of football now. It's ridiculous. It's got out of control. And for me, it's completely broken, really, for me. The Premier League, if you look at the Premier League, it's completely broken for me. And people will say that, but what I'm trying to say is that when you want to come in, the first thing they think is he rich? Is he rich? How much money has he got to spend? And it's like, just calm down, because we have to do things sustainably. And Kevin's already alluded to that. They have to stabilise the budget. They can't be doing things. We can't be breaking FFP rules like Manchester City. I still like that one, but I've mentioned that earlier on. But unfortunately for us, we can't get away with breaking FFP rules. Others can, of course. We're not in the privileged position to be like that. But anyway, but he does. He needs time. He needs time. As long as because the thing is, he's got a plan that he's going to be doing over the next few months with certain things that I touched on earlier. So as long as we see things happening and things happening nicely and going along nicely, that's fine for me. That's fine for me. We just want to keep seeing things happening, to keep knowing that we are making progress slowly but surely. Super Kevin Nagle, indeed. Smash those likes, people. Already says, big up to you. Ryan, I heard that announcement for a player is soon. Who do you think that is? I mean, it's funny you say that, because I feel like there's a signing that's going to happen in the next few days for me. I do. I just feel like there's something going to happen over the next few days. There's going to be something happen, because I can just feel it. Now, I don't know if you've seen, but we have been linked with a player from Cambridge, and he said his goodbyes to on Twitter the other day. I saw that. Harvey Nibbs is his name is, I believe. Harvey Nibbs, I think his name is. Yes, it is Harvey Nibbs. So he said his goodbyes to, that was yesterday. And he was thanking the Cambridge fans, but he's kind of announced that he's moving on. I mean, we have been linked with him, so are we going to maybe get him in? I honestly don't know. We have been linked with him, but we'll just have to see. But maybe him. Other player, maybe Hoylett. Maybe Hoylett could be announced as well. Hoylett's obviously, we know Hoylett's been linked with us. So maybe Hoylett may be the one that's been announced. But we'll just have to wait and see. But be interested to see, watch this space, who that will be. Oris is 30 away from 400 subs. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you very much indeed for all. You know how much you mean to me and how much I appreciate you, Oris. Honestly, I've made a brother, a best friend for life, for sure. So yeah, what you do for me is just incredible. So big up, man, big up. Aiden says, what's your thoughts on Plymouth and Millwall wanting Koroma? I mean, for me, yeah, obviously there's obviously going to be interest in Koroma, because he finished the season very well. Now, for me, if Koroma was to go, I've kind of changed my tune a bit with this one, really, and I'm kind of touching upon. I might as well touch upon it now, whilst we're on the conversation. That Koroma, if you look at Koroma had a 3-year contract with us. He performed for 6 months out of the 3 years. Now,
I don't necessarily feel like that is acceptable. So I kind of feel like if he was to move on, then it is what it is. Ultimately, it is what it is, because we need consistency, we need reliability. And even though Corona did a lot for us at the back end of last season, and a lot of people were saying, oh, maybe he's playing for a new contract. He probably was playing for a new contract, to be fair. But I also think that Neil Warnock helped him massively, and I think that sometimes Corona does just need that right manager to be with him. But yeah, so if you look at it like that, 6 months out of 3 years, we've probably got 6 months 6 months out of him in his 3-year contract. That's not really value, is it, for me? So my thoughts on playing for Millwall wanting, yeah, I mean, obviously, it'd be strange if he does move on to another club, though. Obviously, we'll be facing him next season. But if he does, then best of luck to him. And yeah, obviously, I'm not surprised with those teams wanting him. I'm sure there's a few others sniffing around too. But yeah, best of luck to him if that's what he wants to do. It feels like to me that Crum is starting a contract anyway with us. I'm not sure if we don't know, do we? But you know, it feels like there is a contract being offered. But again, I go back to it. His agents are holding out for a better deal, and you know, we've always stuck to what we're about, haven't we? As a club, we won't go above our means for just because a player wants so and so. You know, you have to accept the terms that you're given. If you don't want to do that, then yeah, you have to go. You know, it's time to move on. So yeah, it's one of those, really. Yeah. Joseph said, I think if Koroma goes, we should get Callum Lang from Wigan. I mean, we will touch upon we're going to do a transfer show at some point, by the way. And hopefully that transfer show is combined with a new signing in the coming days. Like, I feel like there potentially will be one signing in the next few days. But yeah, if not, obviously we'll still do a show. Probably do a transfer show this week, another transfer show. To see where we're at with things as well, because yeah, I don't mind doing those, keep up to date with everything, all the rumours. Maybe the rumours will start to develop a bit more now, obviously with the owner coming in. We might see a bit more about who potentially coming in. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, Callum Lang, obviously I will share my thoughts on him in the next show. I also picked out a few quotes that he said. Finally, we are towards the end of the show now. But I want to touch upon Kevin's obviously upbringing a bit more, really, because I think that obviously we know that, as I said earlier, he came from a very difficult, borderline poverty level, really, his background growing up, and obviously, as I said, he started work when he was 5. Obviously, yeah. Obviously, he said when he was a young kid, I wasn't thinking about all this kind of with football. Obviously, I was thinking about my mum putting food on the table, for my sisters, for me and my 2 cousins. Obviously, he said he started working when I was 5, and as I said earlier, I kind of repeat myself now, but obviously most of his money did go on. Most of his money he earned obviously went to his mum. He was thinking about survival, when he was younger. Ultimately, obviously, if he fast forwards a number of years, he said later buying a football club in England, it's an American dream. Now we have to figure out a way to win. Punch higher to be recognised. Yeah, I mean, we've always had to punch higher to be recognised, haven't we? And I think that's another similarity between us and Sacramento as well. They've had to punch higher to be recognised. And so, yeah, and I also love the quote he said, if you have a love for something, why not follow your dreams? I think that was such a really lovely quote, actually. We're going to touch on final comments, and we are not final quotes.
because he did mention about the Huddersfield Town women's team. Of course, we know. We do have a women's team. Obviously, I've been to a few games as well. Obviously, I love, anyone that knows me knows I like women's football as well. And I'm all for equality and inclusion for sure. But yeah, he commented on the women's game and what he kind of maybe wants to do with the women's team as well. He said, I love women's football and we're going to support them in some way. What that means, I don't know exactly yet. We want to help them in many ways that maybe they haven't been helped before. So again, I think that the women's team has always felt like maybe the club haven't really, they haven't done enough to support them. From me kind of looking at what I've seen and what I've heard. So the fact that the women's team are now potentially going to be helped as well, it's a massive thing really, isn't it? It's massive because obviously, it's just nice to hear from me. I just think it's really nice and positive to hear that, obviously he does want to, help the women's team and he will do the best he can with the women's team for sure. And yeah, obviously he's not obviously not promised anything, but that he recognises that he wants to help them in many ways. However, that looks, I'm not sure yet. He doesn't exactly know himself yet, but that will be planned out. But he also knows that they haven't really been helped. He also knew that they haven't really been helped before. Well, he said maybe they haven't been helped before, but yeah. On retaining Warnock, he also said, what you're getting with Neil, where you wouldn't necessarily with a new head coach. I also thought this was interesting as well. He was asked about where do you see kind of getting a competitive advantage, and he said some are planned and some you need to just take advantage of the moment. I don't know whether anyone anticipated last year Town will be back in relegation. They are this year, but sometimes you need to pivot last second. He said so. Now, obviously, just touching on the academy again, obviously, he's looking to expand the academy back out again. Obviously, like I say, completely revamp the infrastructure. He doesn't know the age groups yet, he said. Jake and his team will figure that out, but I know we have to do more. We have fantastic facilities here. The training ground is fantastic. Like I said, we know how good it is down there. It is absolutely first class, really, isn't it? And obviously he said he wants to synergise. I do apologise for kind of rubbing my nose here. Hay fever season, I tell you, it's a nightmare. But yeah, we have to tap into that. He said, obviously with the, with the fantastic facilities, we know the Manchester academies come and poach our players. We need to work out how to get them back. We're not afraid of that. So yeah, again, I love that. I love that he's looking at every level and every aspect of the football club, whether it be the women's team, the men's senior team, or whether it's the academy. He's thinking everything, and that's just really nice to hear it and listen really, and see that he's making those changes. Nice new braid. Thank you. Yeah, it came in the post today, and yeah, I'm probably not going to stop wearing this. So yeah, well, yeah, thank you. But yeah, but yeah, again, I go back to it. Isn't it nice that he's looking at every aspect, every avenue? He's not looking at just one thing. He's looking at. He wants to help everybody in this, and the academy, as we know, is a key part for us in terms of getting the best out of the academy. And I think the infrastructure of the academy, once it's expanded back out again, I think we'll see a very, very strong academy as well. I'm not saying it's not strong now, but I just mean with this obviously different approach, it'll only help the academy and help us ultimately bring these players through. But like I said, we bring some fantastic players through already, haven't we? We know that.
We are nearly there. I am kind of dubious because I don't want to keep going on, but we will keep going if you're all okay to do so. Because I am going a bit further than I thought I would. Obviously, we are approaching. You know, I don't usually go live this long because I know that obviously it's a long live to tune back into. But so yeah, I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll keep going for a bit longer. But yeah, the takeover process he was asked about. I'd always thought it would be good to own a club, and I'd look at. Oh yeah, we've already touched upon that. Obviously, sorry. Yeah, we've touched upon that. So yeah, we've done that. Business versus pleasure. He put a joke in about how the British press always like to put not just your name but also your age in there. He doesn't worry about age. He says it's been going okay so far. If you have the love for something and the financial means, why not follow your passion? I wasn't thinking about this when I was a kid. I was thinking about my mum needing to put food on the table and running around chasing golf balls to make extra money. That's survival. If I fast forward that to now, it's an American dream for an American guy. It really is. To come to the world-class centre of football and be part of it. Now we need to figure out how to win. This guy, I'm just, you know, I keep repeating myself, but honestly, I'm just so, I just feel so overwhelmed by all these words, and I'm just loving what I'm hearing. We all are. But yeah, I love the jokes he put in there. But yeah, obviously he mentioned about his growing up, what it was like for him growing up. Yeah, that's survival. You know, and that's why he appreciate. I feel like he appreciates everybody. For no matter who you are, he'll appreciate everybody. And you know, I think the people that have to work harder in life to get where they are, I think they're the ones that truly appreciate what they have got, where they are now. So it's about being humble and being, and being sincere about, and making sure that everybody's opinion is valid. And I'm kind of waffling, but you know what I'm trying to say, I'm sure. But yeah, obviously, he said it's an American dream, obviously. But then again, he ends with, now we need to figure out how to win. He's a winner. I tell you, he's a winner. He wants to win. He wants to be competitive. He simply wants to win. And how could you, we love winning. No, we all love winning. But when you've got someone at the top that wants to win and will do everything in their power to be competitive and win, you know, it's just incredible, really. It's only going to help us moving forward. He was also asked about how often he would potentially be over in England, obviously watching some games here. Obviously, he did acknowledge that there is overlapping seasons, you know, with his club in America. You know, he obviously said he tries to get to as many Republic games as possible. He says, I imagine at the moment coming out every 4 to 6 weeks and staying for a couple of matches. He said so. That's nice. Obviously, that's nice to know that it'll be coming here regularly, which I didn't expect, but I kind of anticipated maybe he would, and that shows the commitment he has for the club. I mean, you know, obviously coming here and regularly visiting. So again, I know I keep comparing others, you know, other clubs, but some owners you don't hardly ever see them at the stadium, do you? So that says stuff about them, but you know, I really appreciate what Kevin is saying here. It's in everything he's saying. I was asked about anticipating much change to the squad. He said Neil knew coming in what we had and was perfectly comfortable with it. My feeling is if we make any change on our budget, we're doing a lot of deficit spending now. And it's no criticism previous administrations, but we need to figure things out. So he's emphasising that as well again. Yeah, like I said, we don't want to be deficit spending, and he doesn't want to criticise any of the previous owners, but
They just need to figure things out. You know, he's spot on, isn't he? Budgets. You've seen what the player budgets were, and we were in the middle of the pack, and that's where we finished despite not being far from relegation. There's a lot of poor return on investment in this division. I think sometimes people just buy players hoping they'll help without analysing it properly. That's what you put on the manager and the coaches and the technical staff side. So again, he's saying the right things, and he's right. You know, players. You just buy players hoping they'll help without even analysing it. You know, and you have to analyse it properly. And you know, like I said, that's what you put on the manager and the coach and the technical staff side of things to help with that and see what we can do with who we need to come in. Honestly, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit those likes if you haven't already. Thank you. Thank you again, bro. I appreciate you. He was also asked about the reliance, you know, kind of relying too much on Warnock off the pitch. And he kind of said he's a great team player, so I think if we asked him something, he'd help. But he has his own job, and we want him to push on as high up the table as possible. So yeah, he acknowledges that he knows that Neil will be there for him to offer advice and help him with things. But he knows that he needs to obviously, you know, he's already got his own job to do. So really, we don't want to be putting extra pressure. He doesn't want to be putting extra pressure on him. So very sensible approach to have there. How big is the academy for the club's plans? He was asked as well, and he went about it saying, I think more than anything else, it's critical to develop your own players, especially after Brexit made it harder to bring in ready-made players. From what I can see, and I've not had a chance to study it too deeply, there's potential to bring in a lot of extraordinary young players if we can give them a reason to come to our academy. We have the facilities here to figure that out. Now we just need to make sure we have the best of everything else, and create winners. Again, winners. I just love to hear it. Honestly, I love it. And you know, he's saying all the right things about the academy system as well. And you know, he knows, doesn't he? He knows the facilities are there. They're ready. Like I said earlier, I can't emphasise it enough. That facility at Canalside, you know, well, it's called the Miller Sports Oils Complex now or whatever, but I call it Canalside, so the original name. The facility down there is absolutely outstanding. So, yeah, we have to make sure we get the best out of everything else and yeah, create those winners for sure, which, yeah, is nice to hear. And he also talked about the relating to Huddersfield, which I kind of touched on briefly earlier, but I'm going to touch on it a bit more. He said that the more I got to know about Huddersfield, the more I gravitated towards it. It's a working class town, and there's some analogies with Sacramento where we need to punch higher to be recognised and to win. I grew up in borderline poverty, and I had to fight for what I've got. I'm from a blue-collar family, and I grew up with that and relate to that. When I go to fancy dinners, I sometimes pick up the wrong implement when I go to eat because I wasn't educated on that. I didn't go to prep school. And so, again, it's that, I touched on it earlier, but it's the fact that you can relate to us, relate to Huddersfield, relate to the club, relate to the area. And, you know, telling us a bit more about him. And, you know, yeah, it's kind of giving us a sense of where he's actually come from, them quotes there. And yeah, it's an extraordinary journey as well. Obviously, we're still getting to know the journey that he's been on, but from where he you know, growing up to where he is now, I think it's safe to say that, yeah, okay, you have to work hard for what you achieve. Well, some people have to work harder to what they achieve, and I think he's living proof that if you do work hard and you are committed and you don't give up,
on your dreams, then things, you know, you can achieve. You can achieve. Because I remember him saying as well, people told him you couldn't do this, you wouldn't be able to do that. You know, he was doubted when he was younger. The success stories people are always doubted, aren't they? But they're always the one that rise above that, and ultimately the doubters make you more determined to succeed. Anyway, I'm going off on one, but obviously I do like to obviously just kind of get my kind of thoughts on that. But it's true though. It's true about, you know, dreams do come true. You just got to work hard and keep at it. He also said the dynamic nature of the fan base is special. There's something special here, and to me, it's one thing getting to the Premier League, but another staying there and competing and winning. Why wouldn't that be my ambition? Because I think he was asked about, is his ambition getting to the Premier League? And yeah, so that was his response to that. But yeah, he recognises there's something special here. The dynamic nature of the fan base as well, he recognises that. But yeah, the fact is, we would love to get back to the Premier League at one day. But then he's already thinking ahead, because then he's saying, well, if we do get to the Premier League, we have to make sure we stay there and competing and winning, and that is what it's all about. And yeah, so that's see. Process of buying the club literally wasn't more than 10 days. That's no joke. There were a couple of other suitors looking at the club, so we had to get in the game. Normally, purchasing something this size, you have 7 to 10 lawyers on it, but we didn't have time for that, so we shrunk it down. My advisors all said, don't do it, and my CFO just grinned and said, if you want to do it, do it. But that's because I employ him directly, which I remember he laughed about that as well. He was obviously bringing a bit of humour to the room as well, which is obviously that's what he's like. You can tell he's a bit of a bubbly character. Then he said, there's so many absolutes, but at a certain point you need to be willing to take a risk. You need to be willing to take a risk. No criticism of Dean or anyone before me sitting here right now, but if you can get to the Premier League, you can stay there. We want to figure that out, but we need to get there first. So yeah, again, just straight to the point of what he wants to say. But yeah, we said it earlier, didn't we, really? You need to be willing to take a risk, and he certainly is willing to take a risk. He's taken a risk by taking the club, but he's done it, and you know, now still he's prepared to keep taking risks, and you know, he also, you can tell that he doesn't ever want to offend anybody either, because obviously he said then, obviously he doesn't want to criticise Dean or anybody else that was before him, But yeah, he also if you can get to the Premier League, you can stay there, and you can stay there. You've got the infrastructure. I keep saying infrastructure, but it's true. We want to figure that out, he said, but we need to get. Yeah, it's the fact that he knows that he needs to figure it out, but we need to get there first. So he's very focused on he's looking at long term, but he's also very focused on what he needs to do now to help us now. So it's quite something to have that mentality. Club history said we were able to skew some of the medals from the France Champions period. You want to be part of that, and that's what I want to be. That's an implicit respect for that kind of standing. We have a bit of a complex in America about fighting for our identity. Huddersfield had an incredible history of winning and some recent history in the Premier League, but sustainability, that's what we're going for. And we said it, didn't we? Sustainability, it is paramount, and he wants to make us really sustainable and really help us in that way. But yeah, again, he knows a bit about history. He was asked about. We are nearly done, by the way. We are done, and big up to everyone that's stuck by. And I really appreciate everybody that's come in and obviously had to go maybe because they're doing things. Like I said, I do appreciate people do have lives to live as well and do other things as well. So I was asked about what convinced want to say, what convinced want to return. Sorry, I use one of his lines. He met me. Neil will always speak for himself. He says, "I think he is some unfinished business, but I'll let him speak for that." So he doesn't want to answer for everybody. He doesn't want to answer for people. He'll kind of say things, but he'll kind of say, you know, you're gonna have to obviously ask Neil about that, and that's what it is. I want to. I think this is the perfect way to end, really. Actually, with this American dream come true that he said. I'm going to go through some quotes. He said. He started off by saying, "Anything is possible." I can tell you, there were seminal moments in my life. People told me I couldn't do something. I remember having to sit outside the classroom while my mother spoke to my teacher about me being remedial, and when people would tell me throughout my career, "You'll never be president of the company," and I went and started my own company. And 3 years later, they'd come to me for a job, which, you know, that's, you know, people doubt people, and, you know, just makes them stronger and makes them more determined, doesn't it? Like I said earlier, I'm very involved in the entrepreneurial process. I always tell people, follow your dream. I know that's naive in some cases. There's a lot of sacrifices you make, and I lost my wife and family in pursuit of my career success. But that probably goes back to my upbringing, he says. So again, a bit about more about him. But yeah, I love that. I love those quotes. Anything is possible. And, you know, obviously, like I said, he got doubted, and look what happened. Look where he is now. I was also asked about the Wrexham story as well. I've not seen 1 minute of that. He said if you want to wait for an hour or so, you might hear we're working on something that might relate to that, which obviously did bring in the fact, obviously, the new series that was launched today on the club's YouTube. What a fantastic episode. The Up the Town, well, it's not a podcast, but it's in a documentary. How to buy a football club in 10 days. Obviously, this was the first episode was released today, but obviously there'll be many other episodes, which I found it so interesting. I loved every minute of it. But I'm sure everybody's watched it, or if you haven't watched it, definitely go and check it out. Obviously, it's about 20 minutes long, so yeah, it's well worth a watch and very interesting and very, because you're getting to know him as a person more as well, and obviously the process that he went through as well to buying the club. But obviously there will be more episodes to release in the future. But yeah, so yeah, what a day! Honestly, really special. Like I said earlier, we were very excited when Kevin went on this journey to try and get the club, obviously take over the club. But now he's in his first press conference. The excitement is just notched up a bit, I think. I think that's safe to say. Notched up a lot, should I say. And we're very, very excited about the future. The future is very bright, and we are very much in safe hands with Kevin Nagle. Let me tell you. I know people say, well, you don't really know until you don't really know yet, but I just know. When you know, you know. I'm sorry, but I can just tell this guy will bring success. This era is going to be such an exciting era, and patience, like I said earlier, will be required. But the point is, this is a new era. We have to. Nothing ever happens overnight, and things behind the scenes are getting to it. We know what's happening behind the scenes now, and what's happening in the next few months. I think it's time to get to work. And it's time to start putting things in place to really push us on and get us back to the Premier League, but also just succeed on the field and be competitive. But yeah, I'll probably repeat myself so many times, but yeah, we have finished. We're there. And I do appreciate, like I say, I have nearly reached 2 hours on this live, but there has been a lot to discuss. I did want to go through them in detail, obviously give my thoughts.
So thank you everybody that's tuned in. Thank you for sticking on the channel, on the show. Or thank you for just popping in when you have been able to as well. Anybody that comes into my streams, I really appreciate that. Into another great live stream, mate. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Great stream. Horace says, yeah, big up to you. Great. Thank you for being here, and as always, supporting me. And this is a perfect way to end, a beautiful comment to end. Thank you, Horace. New owner, new era. Hashtag trust the process. That is spot on. That is spot on, mate. Honestly. So yeah, that is a perfect way to end this. Let's trust the process. Let's trust the process. And a new era is about to begin. But yeah, up the town you want to find me. Indeed, Aiden, indeed. But yeah, we're gonna go now. We're gonna go. Obviously, I will be back at some point this week. I don't want to promise a date. I think it might probably be Friday. We're looking at for another stream. Unless there's some more news, then we may have to jump on a bit earlier, like I did with my other streams before it. I did say I was going to not do a stream, but then I did a stream last Thursday and then I came back on the Friday because there was more news. But I did say I wasn't going to be back to the Monday. So anyway, I'm waffling on. Let's just see what happens. I will be definitely back on Friday, but if there is news before that one, we'll be back on here before that. But yeah, like I said, you can keep an eye on my socials. Click the notification bell on my channel as well, and that will get a notification when I go live as well. But yeah, follow me on my socials. They are going down the bottom now, so HGFTV8. I think I might be one away on Instagram, one follower away from 300 on Instagram. So anybody that hasn't followed me on Instagram, if you want to help me get to 300, then you could be my lucky 300 follower. Because, in fact, I've hit 300. I lie. I'm on 300, so big up to everybody. So yeah, we got there. So forget what I just said. So yeah, thank you everybody for following my channel and following my socials as well. But yeah, keep an eye on that, and you'll always get a post if I'm about to go live anyway. So just stay tuned for the next one, whenever that may be, but definitely Friday. Neil wants Barmy Army. Indeed. Neil wants Barmy Army. Big up, Ryan. Big up to you, Horace. Big up, man. Absolutely legend you are. Congratulations, Aid. Congratulations, Ian says. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, it's good to get there. I did know that I was on 299 this morning, but somebody's followed me, but it hasn't come up with a notification to tell me who it was. But anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, have a good evening, whatever you. Mind you, the evening's nearly gone. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your evening. And we will see you on the next one. And Super Kev, let's go Super Kev. Super Kevin Nagle. And as always, up the town, Neil Warnock's Barmy Army. Come on, you terriers. Good night, everyone, and I'll see you very, very soon. Take care.